that bugs me. I mean, the three things that bugs me is the lack of hard drive support, which is an OEM problem in general. The memory, which, you know, as we both agree, it's it in the long run, that really hurts what the machine's capable of doing, and there's nothing you can do about that. You can't just add more RAM DIMMs if they didn't put them in. It's, I would wish they had more PCI Express slots on there, but I can understand the compromise. And for most people, the RAID use. There's one more. They added one more. This is 5 instead of 4, as opposed to the old one that had 4. So if you're burning one for RAID, which you're gonna have to do, you have 4 slots to play with. But I would almost argue in a lot of cases you're going to have to also burn one of those on a sound card. Because while there is built-in sound, it's it's line in, mic in. I mean it's line in / mic in and line out. It's mono sound. It's not. I guess the alternative to that, to getting a sound card, is they do make some speakers now that you can plug into USB ports that will do smart surround sound via USB. I guess you'd have to go that route if you go the Mac side, as opposed to doing everything through a sound card. But then you're burning one of your USB slots, which you don't have that many of those. It's, again, no, I'm not sure you need that many, as long as you have the one, because you have the 2 on the front and the few on the back. And
it's the quality I sent it to you. The images were actually large. That's the thing. I sent you 3. You'll be able to see the power supply and its connector and all the and extra motors and the case itself. Whenever it decides to send it.
Okay, big ass TIFF.
No, it's not. It hasn't sent it. It's still working.
Oh, okay. So this is another picture. Never mind.
Did you get any yet or no?
I have a pasted graphic TIFF.
Oh, you can't physically see it?
Well, I can see it. I'm just opening it bigger so I can.
Okay, you should have gotten all 3 pictures now.
Alright, let me go back. Like, so far I only got one.
Alright. It's a 980 watt power supply.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we at least answered that question. I mean, it's the last real issue on the Mac Pro, and this is a real pro or con thing. It's like, I still feel the RAID's cheaping out, but do you feel the audio is cheaping out? Or do you feel there should be...
On my Mac Pro?
No, on the new one here. The fact that it's only got a line in, line out.
What, they don't have a Toslink connector on it?
No, it's like usually on most systems today you have at least 5-channel sound.
You broke up. You have what now?
Usually on most systems today you have at least 5-channel sound on board.
The Mac Pro has always had usually one 3.5. I think it's always had one 3.5.
I mean,
one for out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's like that's what you have. You have an audio in, audio out. It's mono sound. It's
right. Yeah, you have analog and digital support. Depending, like my Mac Mini, for instance, just has one 3.5 in the back and the headphone jack. And the headphone jack itself can do analog and digital. So it's pumping 5.1 out of my Mac Mini in digital configuration. So I'm using a Toslink cable. I mean, it's got Toslink on one end going to a 3.5 jack, a mini jack. I don't think it's just a mini jack into the Mac Mini, and that pumps out to my receiver, which is receiving, a digital input on the receiver, so it maintains 5.1 that way. The Mac Pro has always had. I'm looking at the newer model. It looks the same as the back of my machine.
It is. That hasn't changed yet. I mean, it's one of those things that's always bugged me about the way Apple does that, in that you don't get direct control over that, and in some cases what you wind up having to do is either add a USB sound card or burn one of your precious internal expansion slots on a sound card. It's one of those things. Why are you forcing the end user to do that? Is one of those things I've always wondered.
Yeah, they don't. I think there's a massive debate. It was on YouTube about, they called them the Fruit Loops. What do they call it? There was a debate about the sound cards having the Fruit Loop things, which I think is totally stupid. I mean, I like to have people, like you're saying, like you have your mic input, you have your digital out, maybe digital in, analog out, analog in.
Well, and on most of those, it's there. I mean, depending on the quality of the motherboard and what they put on there and what chipset they use, it's somewhere between 5.1 and 9.1 sound.
Right.
And on all of them, they have. Most of them support what is very useful feature in that smart switching, and that these can be reassigned depending on how your audio configuration is being done and other things, in which if you don't need a mic in but you need another son out, you can switch the configure on. And I think that's much more beneficial than just, okay, here's your one out, here's your one in. Especially since that feature is built into almost all motherboards today, even workstation boards. It's like, Apple, why are you still forcing people to go buy a sound card or do this over a USB or FireWire port? Why do they have to burn these ports? Because honestly, on a system like this, I think it's inexcusable you have to burn one of those 5 PCI Express slots on RAID, but you have to. But the other 4 should definitely be available for GPUs. They shouldn't have to be doing anything else, but you have to burn. I don't see you having more than 3 GPU cards in here, because you're going to burn one for RAID, and realistically, you're probably going to burn one for sound. And it's like, why am I having to burn 2 cards for features that could have been done other ways? It's
Right.
Did they
kill a USB port? I thought I had 4.
Nope.
Maybe.
Well, it's like if you look on the front, that you have 2.
Yeah, I have 2 here. I have my 2 USB and FireWire here. I guess it's the same. I'm just trying to think. I'm looking at the back. I guess I have 3 in the back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think those are. Let me look at the tech specs.
Yeah, I'm seeing it on the back. You got the 3.
Yeah.
And then you have your FireWire.
And then you have your FireWire and Toslink. I mean, standard workstation, you have 2 Ethernet cords. That if you don't understand why you need 2 Ethernet cords on a workstation, I'm sorry, I can't explain it to you. It's useful, because you're doing what you have. One Ethernet port is for internet, the other Ethernet port is for the local network. Trust me.
We have a lot of machines that work to do that.
Yeah, it's like it's necessary to have 2 Ethernet ports. In fact, you will have a hard time on the PC side finding a single motherboard in this range that does not have 2 RJ45 ports on. Most of them also have something like 6 to 10 USB ports and a few FireWire ports, or support for a few FireWire ports, but that's a different thing altogether. Again, that's getting back into custom built versus Sun. Most OEMs are including 3 to 4 these days. I've never understood why, since everything's going USB, but hey, saves them $5 a unit, I'm sure. It's like, so, yeah, I just don't know why they're not including those things. So it sounds like, even though overall you like the machine, you're reluctantly agreeing with me that it would probably be a good idea if at some point in the future Apple started including this stuff on the board.
Yeah, I mean, the better the machine, the better for Apple is the way I look at it. But they're ultimate arbiters of what is.
Well,
should say.
I can get their logic for the RAID because they get to sell you a RAID card, and I can get their graphics for the audio, even though I think it's cheaping out because I'm sure that does save them a significant amount of cost.
Right.
I think it hurts the end user because you're having to burn an expansion card that's far more useful for use with a GPU on an audio card, but I can get Apple's logic for it. What I don't get is their logic behind the RAM. Can you think of any logical reason that it would be better to cheap out like that?
I mean, to change, you mean to what now? To use DDR3 over what?
Oh, well, I know why they're using DDR3 because DDR3 is just the way the industry going. I mean, why they're doing it 4 channels as opposed to 6. Why they're doing the wrong number.
You mean the fourth bank? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I guess if you want to run it in dual channel mode, no?
But you don't get any real benefit out of that.
No.
It's okay. Let's. Okay. Well, we've covered.
I mean, I never gave it much thought other than when the Mac Pros first came out in DDR3, people were asking me, should I use a fourth thing? I said, well, no, if you want to use it in triple channel, don't. There's no point in doing it. So, I left it at that.
Yeah.
But perhaps toggles a dual channel. Maybe they want better latency. But I mean, wouldn't the DDR3? No, yeah, that'd be a conundrum.
No, it's like pretty much any motherboard on the PC side of things for this type of system is either 3 DIMMs per CPU or 6. There's a few that are 9, but you're talking about really niche markets on. But most of them are 6. So if like for the 12 core, that would be 12 DIMMs for a total of 48 gigs of RAM. On the Mac side, for some reason, they're doing it in the weirdest counting method I've ever seen for Sun. But okay, if you can't think of a reason, we'll move on to the other 2 things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll come up with something later, but
okay.
Those emails finally went off to you. I guess the images were pretty big or something.
Okay, I guess I'll figure out a way to.
There's the one on the Mullics and the other internal thing.
Okay, let me take a look at them real quick. If they ever showed up. Well, it's obvious the power supply isn't modular.
Yeah, it plugs into a main bus, and everything else then plugs into that bus is the way I remember it working.
Okay. So.
That way they don't run all these cables, you know.
Yeah, well, no, it's a roundabout way to do modular, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. The only downside I see to that is, if you want to add connectors that aren't there, yeah, good luck. Because if you need to add connectors that aren't there on the PC side, it's worst case scenario, go buy a power supply that has them. Ideally a modular one, but there are other ways to hide cables. Yeah, hopefully they've put the 4 6. Actually, for Crossfire it'd be 8-pin. NVIDIA is using 6-pin. Crossfire ATI cards are using those 8-pin ones now. So hopefully they've put in the connectors for those. Because technically, why they're doing that, I don't know. Because that's making things annoying as hell for the power supply people.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, a whole other connector to figure out how to include without over. Because I mean, you're not going to be putting both Crossfire and NVIDIA in there. You're going to be putting either or. It's like,